There is a reason your life feels stuck, even when nothing is technically wrong. You wake up, you scroll, you think about what you should do, and somehow the day ends. No disaster, no big failure, just another quiet day gone. And the most dangerous thing is this: you don't even notice what's happening, because the enemy is not outside you. It's not people, it's not luck, it's not time. It's your own mind, and it's very patient. He was not a bad person, not lazy in the obvious way, not weak in the way movies show weakness. He was a normal young man. He had plans, dreams he never talked about, a future he kept thinking about. Every morning he told himself, "Today I'll start." But before starting, he checked his phone, just for a minute. One video became five became an hour, and the mind whispered, "You still have time." That voice sounded kind, reasonable, like a friend, so he listened. Days passed like this, then weeks, then months. Nothing terrible happened, that's the problem. He still ate, still laughed, still slept. From the outside, life looked fine, but inside, something was quietly shrinking. His focus, his hunger, his belief in himself. Every night when the room went silent, a strange heaviness sat on his chest. He knew he was capable of more, and that knowing hurt. So the mind did what it does best. It distracted him. Whenever a serious thought appeared, "What am I doing with my life?" the mind rushed to save him. "Not now. You're tired. Relax today. Tomorrow will be better." And tomorrow always agreed. This is how the mind destroys a life, not with chaos, but with comfort. Slow, silent, friendly. One evening he stood near his window, watching the city lights. Everyone seemed to be going somewhere. He felt like he was standing still while time walked past him. For the first time, a dangerous thought appeared. What if the problem isn't my situation, but the way I think? That thought scared him, so he did what he always did. He grabbed his phone and drowned it. But something had already started. A crack, a small awareness. And once that door opens, the mind panics, because it knows it's about to be seen. The strange thing about the mind is this: it never feels like an enemy. It feels like you. That's why it wins so often. The next morning, he woke up with the same weight in his chest. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet pressure. He sat on the edge of his bed and thought, something has to change. That thought was dangerous, and the mind noticed it immediately. It didn't shout, it didn't panic, it smiled. "Of course something has to change," the voice said, "but not right now." It sounded calm, logical, almost caring. "You didn't sleep well. Start tomorrow with full energy. Rushing never works." And just like that, the urgency disappeared. This is how the mind protects its comfort, not by stopping you, but by delaying you. On the way to work, he watched people around him. Some looked tired, some looked focused, some looked lost. He wondered which one he was. A thought appeared. I could be more than this. Before it could settle, the voice returned. Everyone feels like this. You're still young. You'll figure it out. The thought faded. The bus moved on. At work, he did what was expected. Nothing more, nothing less. When a chance appeared to speak up, his heart moved forward, but the mind pulled him back. What if you sound stupid? Why take pressure? Stay safe. So he stayed quiet. Later, the regret whispered, you should have tried. But by then, the moment was gone. This cycle repeated every day. The mind would create a desire, then immediately kill it with fear. Start a habit? Too hard. Learn a skill? Too late. Change your life? Be realistic. And the cruel part? The mind always used his own voice. At night, lying in bed, his thoughts became louder. Memories he tried to avoid came back. Moments where he chose comfort over courage, silence over action, excuses over effort. His chest tightened, so the mind rushed in again. Don't think so much. Watch something. You deserve rest. And once again, he escaped himself. Days turned into routines. Routines turned into identity. Without realizing it, he began to believe the voice. I'm just not disciplined. I'm not one of those people. This is just who I am. That belief was the real prison. Because once you accept a lie as identity, you stop fighting it. One evening, something small happened. A friend called him. They hadn't spoken in a long time. The friend talked about growth, struggles, progress. Not bragging, just honest. After the call ended, the room felt heavier than before. Comparison crept in. Not jealousy, but sadness. He asked himself quietly, when did I stop moving? The mind felt threatened. It reacted fast. Everyone has their own pace. Social media lies. You're fine. But for the first time, the excuses felt empty. He noticed something new. The voice never pushed him forward. It only pulled him back. It never asked, what could you become? It only asked, what if you fail? That night, he sat alone. No phone, no noise. Just him and the voice. And for the first time, he didn't obey it immediately. He listened, really listened. And what he heard shocked him. The voice was afraid. Not of failure, but of change. That's when a quiet thought appeared. What if my mind is not me, but something I've been following blindly? That thought didn't bring comfort. It brought fear. Because if the mind was lying, then responsibility was his, and that was terrifying. But something had shifted. The voice was still there, still talking, but now it was no longer invisible. And once you see the chains, they don't feel the same.
Comfort never announces itself as danger. It feels soft, familiar, safe. That's why people don't run from it. They sink into it. After that night, he didn't suddenly change. There was no dramatic transformation, no sudden discipline. Life continued. And that's exactly how comfort works. His mornings followed the same rhythm. Alarm, snooze, another snooze. The mind whispered, 5 more minutes won't hurt. And 5 became 20. He rushed through the morning, already feeling behind. Not in life, just in the day. But that feeling mattered. Because when you start a day late, you live it defensively. At work, he did what he had mastered, looking busy without growing. He completed tasks, avoided risks, stayed invisible. Comfort loved that version of him. No pressure, no failure, no progress. During breaks, he scrolled, not because he enjoyed it, but because silence felt uncomfortable. Every empty moment was filled. Videos, messages, noise, anything to avoid thinking. Weeks moved quietly. Nothing broke. And that was the illusion, because time doesn't break loudly, it leaks. One evening he cleaned his room. He found an old notebook. Inside were plans he once wrote, goals that once felt alive. Learn this, become that, change here. He stared at the dates. Years ago. His chest tightened, not with pain, with realization. He didn't fail because he tried and lost. He failed because he never stayed long enough with discomfort to grow. The mind reacted quickly. That was a different time. You've changed. Life is harder now. Comfort defended itself. But something inside him asked a sharper question. Or did I just choose easier days? Comfort doesn't ruin life in one moment. It does it in small trades. Discomfort today for relief now. Effort today for ease tonight. Focus now for entertainment. Each trade feels harmless until you look back.
he noticed something painful. The days he remembered most were the days he struggled, the days that felt important. The comfortable days, they blended into nothing, just empty space between memories. One Sunday, he woke up late. Sunlight filled the room. It should have felt peaceful. Instead, it felt heavy. He realized something terrifying. Time was moving, whether he was ready or not, and comfort had made him forget that. He sat on the edge of his bed, no phone, no noise, just the sound of his own breath. The mind tried again. Relax, life is long, you're overthinking. But the truth was louder now. Comfort had not protected him. It had slowly delayed his life. That morning, he didn't suddenly become disciplined, but he felt something new. Urgency. Not panic, clarity. Because once you see time clearly, comfort loses its sweetness. And when comfort loses power, change becomes possible.
Breaking points rarely look dramatic. There was no shouting, no tears in public, no collapse on the floor. Just a quiet moment that cut deeper than anything before. At work, a simple opportunity appeared. Nothing big, a small project, a chance to take responsibility, a chance to be seen. His manager asked a simple question: "Who wants to handle this?" For a second, his heart moved forward. This was it, the kind of moment people later say, that's when things changed. But the mind stepped in fast. What if you fail? What if you can't handle it? Why invite pressure? His hand stayed down. Someone else raised theirs. The moment passed. He told himself it was fine. He always did. But this time, the excuse didn't land. That evening, he received a message. The project had been successful. The person who took it was praised, promised growth, recognition. He stared at the screen longer than necessary, not angry at the other person, angry at himself. For the first time, the mind turned against him. Instead of comfort, it attacked. "See, you're weak. You always miss chances. This is why nothing changes." The voice that once protected him now punished him. And that's the trap. The same mind that keeps you comfortable will later blame you for staying stuck. He walked home slowly. The city felt louder than usual. Every step felt heavy. Not because of the job, but because he could no longer lie to himself. That night, he stood in front of the mirror. No distractions, just his reflection. He didn't see failure. He saw avoidance. A man who kept waiting for motivation while opportunities quietly moved on. His chest tightened, not with sadness, with truth. The mind tried one last defense. Tomorrow, you'll start tomorrow. But something inside him snapped, not in anger, in honesty. He whispered, "How many tomorrows have I already used?" The room felt still. That question had no comforting answer. For the first time, he felt the cost, not in money, not in status, but in self-respect. He realized something painful. The life he feared losing, he was already losing, slowly, silently, by not choosing. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Thoughts replayed moments he avoided, chances he delayed, decisions he never made. Not to torture him, but to wake him up. He finally understood. Nothing was wrong with his talent. Nothing was wrong with his luck. The problem was simple. He kept listening to a mind that valued comfort over growth, and that mind was destroying his life, one safe decision at a time. As the night grew quieter, he made a small decision, not a big promise, not a life-changing vow, just this: I will stop running from discomfort. He didn't know how yet, but for the first time, he was willing to feel uneasy, and that willingness changed everything.
Change doesn't always begin with action. Sometimes it begins when everything stops. The next evening, he did something unusual. He came home, put his phone on the table, and didn't touch it. No music, no videos, no messages, just silence. At first, it felt harmless, then uncomfortable, then almost unbearable. Silence has a strange effect. It doesn't attack you, it waits, and in that waiting, your thoughts begin to rise. Not the polite ones, the real ones. His mind immediately protested. "This is boring. You're wasting time. Do something." He stayed still. Minutes passed slowly. His breathing felt louder than the room. Then the noise began. Regret, fear, unfinished thoughts. Memories he buried came up without permission. Moments he quit too early. Conversations he avoided. Dreams he labeled unrealistic. His chest tightened. This was why he avoided silence. The mind tried its final escape. Enough. Check your phone. Just one look. His hand moved, then stopped. For the first time, he didn't obey. In that stillness, something surprising happened. The thoughts lost their speed. One by one, they slowed down. He noticed patterns. Every fear sounded similar. Every excuse repeated itself. Every warning was about discomfort. The mind wasn't protecting him from danger. It was protecting him from effort. He looked at the wall, plain, empty, yet his mind was full. He realized something simple and heavy. I have never actually listened to my thoughts. I've only reacted to them. Silence showed him a truth no one taught him. Thoughts don't disappear when you fight them. They disappear when you watch them. Time passed differently in that room. Not fast, not slow, just present. He felt something unfamiliar. Calm. Not comfort, clarity. For the first time, he saw the mind as it was, a machine built to avoid pain, not to build a meaningful life. It didn't care about his future, only about the next moment feeling easy. That night, he didn't feel motivated. He felt aware. And awareness is dangerous, because once you see clearly, you can't unsee. He stood up and looked into the mirror again. Same face, but different eyes. Eyes that were finally awake. He whispered quietly, "My mind is not my enemy, but it is not my master either." That sentence changed everything. Silence didn't give him answers. It gave him control. And control begins with noticing. The next few days felt different. Not easier, just clearer. He still felt resistance in the morning, still felt the pull of comfort, still heard the same thoughts. But now, there was space between him and them. The voice would say, "Skip it today." And instead of obeying, he noticed it. That small gap changed everything. One evening, while cleaning an old shelf, he found a thin, worn book. He didn't remember buying it. Inside, a single line was underlined. "You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it." He read it again, and again. Something clicked. The mind is like a tool. A knife can cook food or cut you. The problem was never the mind. The problem was letting it decide everything. He remembered something from childhood. When he was learning to ride a bicycle, his fear screamed, "You'll fall." He fell anyway, but he learned. If he had obeyed the fear, he would still be standing still. That night, he understood a powerful truth. The mind speaks in feelings, but life is built by actions. Waiting to feel ready is how people stay stuck forever. He began testing this truth. Small actions, not heroic ones. He woke up and made his bed, even when the mind said it was pointless. He worked for 10 focused minutes, even when distraction begged him. He kept promises that no one else could see, not to impress anyone, but to rebuild trust with himself. The mind complained, loudly. This is uncomfortable. This is unnecessary. But it was losing power because it was no longer in charge. He noticed something strange. Discipline didn't feel motivating. It felt boring. And that was freeing, because boredom doesn't control you. Fear does. For the first time, he saw the real enemy. Not laziness, not lack of motivation, but unconscious obedience to thoughts. He smiled quietly, not because life was solved, but because he finally had a direction. Act first, feel later. That night, he slept differently. Not deeply, but honestly. No distractions, no escapes, just a quiet acceptance. The mind would still speak, but now it had a place. Not on the throne, on the sidelines.
No one warns you about this part, because it doesn't look inspiring. It feels uncomfortable, lonely, unrewarding. The first week of change felt heavy, not physically, mentally. Every small disciplined action came with resistance. Waking up on time felt like punishment. Focusing felt exhausting. Saying no to comfort felt unnatural. The mind complained constantly. Why are you doing this? This doesn't matter. You were happier before. He noticed something important. The mind remembered comfort, but forgot regret. One morning, he almost quit. He sat on his bed, staring at the floor. The thought came clearly. Is this even worth it? That question was dangerous. But instead of answering it, he remembered something. The feeling of watching someone else take his chance. The feeling of looking at old goals. The feeling of knowing time was moving without him. That pain was familiar. Discipline was painful, but regret was heavier. He began seeing life as two paths, one with effort now, one with pain later. Both hurt, but only one moved forward. There were days he failed. He slept late, lost focus, wasted time. But something was different. He didn't quit. Before, one mistake became an excuse. Now it became a reminder. He stopped waiting to feel like doing things. He acted while feeling uncomfortable. That was the shift. The mind tried new tactics. If you can't be perfect, why try? If you rest today, you'll restart fresh. He smiled at that voice. He had heard it before, and he no longer believed it. Slowly, something changed, not in results, in identity. He started seeing himself as someone who does things despite resistance. That belief was powerful. One evening after a long day, he sat quietly, tired, but proud, not of achievements, of effort. He realized something simple. Discipline isn't about force. It's about choosing which pain to live with. And for the first time, he chose consciously.
Something strange began to happen. The thoughts didn't stop, but they lost their grip. He noticed them the way you notice clouds. They appeared, they moved, they passed. Fear showed up before difficult tasks. Doubt whispered during silence. Comfort called during boredom. But instead of reacting, he watched. This was new. Before, every thought demanded action. Now, thoughts were just signals, not commands. One morning, anxiety hit him hard. The mind screamed, "You can't handle this." His body reacted. Tight chest, fast breath. He didn't escape. He sat still, watched the sensation, and something unexpected happened. The anxiety faded, not because it was solved, but because it wasn't fed. He understood a deep truth. Thoughts grow when you argue with them. They shrink when you observe them. Life outside didn't suddenly improve. Work was still demanding, progress was still slow. But inside, there was stability. No chaos, no running.
He stopped labeling days as good or bad. He labeled them as aware or unaware, and awareness felt like power. People around him noticed something. He spoke less, listened more, reacted slower. Not because he was weak, because he was in control. Silence no longer scared him, it grounded him. He realized this wasn't about becoming fearless. Fear still existed, but it no longer decided his actions. One night, he wrote a simple line in his notebook. "I don't need to win against my mind. I need to stop being owned by it." He closed the book, smiled. This was not the loud confidence of success. This was the quiet strength of clarity. Time had passed quietly, but inside, everything had shifted. He woke up early without struggle, not out of discipline alone, but because his mind no longer resisted. Work no longer felt heavy. Tasks no longer overwhelmed him. Even failures became lessons, not punishments. His friends noticed the change. Not loud, not flashy, just a subtle calm. The kind of calm that makes people pay attention without saying a word. He still had fear, still had moments of laziness, still faced decisions that made him uncomfortable. But he had learned something rare. You are not your mind. You are the one who chooses. One evening, standing by the window, he watched life continue outside. People running, people pausing, people lost. He didn't feel lost anymore. He felt in control. Not of everything, not perfectly, but of himself. He remembered the nights he wasted, the chances he avoided, the comfort he surrendered to. And he didn't feel regret, because now he knew the difference between passive life and conscious life. Small actions had built a new identity, making his bed, sitting in silence, facing fear, observing thoughts, all invisible moments, all unnoticed by the world, but all noticed by him. He realized something heavier than success. Control over self is freedom, and freedom doesn't come from the world, it comes from your mind. That night, he wrote in his notebook, "I am awake, I am aware, I decide." And for the first time, he believed it completely. The man staring back in the mirror was the same, but different. Not by looks, not by luck, but by choice. His life wasn't perfect, it wasn't over, it wasn't easy, but it was his. And that made all the difference. He sat quietly that night. No phone, no distractions. Just himself and the faint sound of his own breath. And he thought about the journey he had taken. Years had passed, or maybe just months. Time didn't care. The mind didn't care. But he did. He finally understood the hardest truth. Your mind is not your friend. It is not your enemy. It is a tool. A tool that will obey only when you are awake, only when you choose. He thought about all the mornings he waited for motivation, all the opportunities he let slip, all the comfort he mistook for safety. And he realized the only thing holding you back is unconscious obedience to your own thoughts. From now on, he promised himself, he would act before he felt ready. He would face discomfort instead of avoiding it. He would watch his mind instead of being ruled by it. He smiled quietly, not with arrogance, not with pride, but with calm power. Because finally, he had control. Not over the world, not over circumstances, but over himself. He whispered into the silence, "Your life doesn't change when your mind changes. Your life changes when you choose to act."
and that choice was his freedom. If this story touched you, remember, it's not about motivation. It's about awareness, action, and control. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories.